In this video, I'm going to demonstrate two spreadsheet models for portfolio optimization. The first model is the classic two-security case seen in every finance textbook out there to highlight the idea of diversification in investing. The second model will go through a more realistic example and use Excel Solver to determine the optimal mix of securities. The spreadsheet I'm using is available for download by following a link in the description of this video. So let's get started with the two-security example. And I've set up a lot of this in advance just to save time. So I'll talk a little bit about where some of these numbers come from. I'm using about a 20-year return on the S&P 500, and I am going to invest in the S&P 500 ETF. And I did the same thing for gold and using the gold ETF. So the first thing we're going to need is a covariance for these two securities. So I'm going to use the covariance sample function. And if you look on the data sheet, you'll see that I have downloaded 1 year's worth of data for each of 7 securities. And 2 of them are gold and S&P 500 ETF. And the numbers here represent the instantaneous rate of return for each day over that year of data. So I'm going to use this data to calculate the covariance for gold and the S&P 500. And I named those ranges so that I can easily write formulas based on them. So what we're left with here is a daily covariance for that 1 year. And so to get the annualized version, I'm going to multiply it by 252, which is the number of observations and the number of trading days in a year. So this low covariance means they don't really move together that much. Okay, with that done, we're ready to go ahead and start building our model. And the first thing I'm going to do is calculate a return based on some weight of S&P 500, with the complement of it being the weight in gold. So the weights I've chosen are sort of the classic hedge fund model, where we're either going to be short 30% gold, S&P 500, or short 30% gold, or some combination of assets in between there. Okay, so the return's very easy to calculate. We're going to take the weight of S&P 500 and we're going to multiply it by the expected return. And then we're going to add to that the complement, which is 1 minus the weight of S&P 500 times the return of gold, or the expected return of gold. Okay, so when we're short 30% S&P 500, our expected return is 2.5%. Okay, I'm just going to get back in that formula and absolute reference the expected return so I can copy it down. Okay, so we see expected returns all along that continuum of investment weights. So the volatility is a bit more complicated to calculate, and this is why textbooks generally only show you the two-security method. So to calculate it, what we're going to do is take the square root of the weights squared times the volatility squared. All right, so the weight squared times the variance. And then we're going to add to that 1 minus the weight squared times the volatility of gold, in this case, squared. Okay, so this is essentially going to turn out to be the weighted average volatility, but that isn't the whole story when we are calculating the expected volatility of a portfolio. We have to also add in this idea of their correlation, which we're measuring by the covariance. So we're going to take 2 times the weights, and we're going to multiply that by the covariance. Okay, so a fairly involved calculation, and as soon as I add just one more security, I have to add 2 more covariance terms on the end. So this calculation becomes very big and hard to manage very quickly once we start adding securities. Okay, so when we are short 30% S&P 500, our volatility is 22.5%. Okay, I'm going to get back in there and absolute reference some things. Okay, and then we can go ahead and copy that formula down. Okay, so we can see as we mix securities in, we get a variation in that volatility, all right, and it seems to be the lowest at about a 50-50 mix. All right, and then over here on the right, what I did was graph those mixes, so return on the y-axis, volatility on the x, and what you end up with here is called the efficient frontier. Okay, and all I did to generate this graph was create a scatter plot of this range. Okay, so our optimal mix is going to lie somewhere on this efficient frontier, which visually shows us the trade-off between return and risk. So just by looking at a couple of points here, right, we essentially have the same amount of risk on the opposite points, not exactly, but pretty close. All right. And so you should not want to invest in this mix because you're going to be taking basically the same amount of risk for a suboptimal return. Okay. So what we want to do is essentially create a line out from that risk-free rate, which I arbitrarily set as 2%, even though it's quite a bit lower right now. And it will extend out and to the right along that efficient frontier, and somewhere it will intersect with the efficient frontier, and it will be the optimal mix of those securities. And it turns out that optimal mix is the best ratio of return to risk. All right. In other words, it's going to be the highest Sharpe ratio, which takes return and divides it by risk and essentially gives us a return per unit of risk. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate that. And as I copy these down, our capital allocation line will move. All right, and then by taking a look at the range over the investment strategies that we've chosen, we end up with the best or highest Sharpe ratio of 0.53, so essentially a 0.5% of return per unit of risk. Okay, and just quickly, so you can see how I did this down here, I was using a combination of the index and max functions to go ahead and find that highest Sharpe ratio, and I just filled it in down here. All right, just gives our portfolio a little bit of dynamic quality so that if you want to change those risk and returns that I used up here, all right, you will see potentially a different optimal security mix. Okay, and then the calculations for the capital allocation line here are just the expected returns at the various investment weights. So no investment in the portfolio, 100% invested in the portfolio, and by borrowing 100% of our capital, we can invest 200% in the portfolio. Okay, so that is the two security example. And so now we're going to take a look at a more realistic example. And once again, I started to fill this out just to save a little bit of time. And once again, I have sort of arbitrarily, not quite, but I've looked up some expected returns for each one of these securities going to the end of the year. All right, so the consensus on the S&P 500 is it should increase by 7%, gold about 4%, and so forth here. All right, but this highlights the weakness of any of these models. They're going to be highly dependent on the expected return forecast that you're using. They're also susceptible to the volatility, and I'll just show you how I calculated that, in that we're using historical data as a forecast for what's going to happen in the future. All right, now it may be similar to this, but it won't be exactly this. And at the time that I'm creating this model, we can see that there's a lot of volatility in the market. Okay, we have stocks that are essentially suggesting that they could go to near zero or could double. All right, so this again is just sort of highlighting the weakness of using an optimization model with historical data. Okay, so once again, the trick here is going to be to calculate that volatility. And if you remember on the two security model, we had that big ugly formula that we used to calculate volatility. And for this model, not only would we have to square weights and standard deviations for 7 securities, we would also have to add a covariance term for each one of the 21 different covariances in this portfolio. All right, so you can just imagine how long that formula would be and how difficult it would be to actually write without errors. All right, so fortunately we have a shortcut method for calculating that, and we're going to be using some of Excel's array functions to do this. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is set up a covariance matrix for our securities. And so I'm going to go to the data sheet, and I'm going to get my covariance matrix using the data analysis Toolpak. So under the data tab, data analysis, and then we can select covariance. And the covariance is going to be just that table of data for the instantaneous rate of returns over the past year. All right, there are labels in the first row, and then I selected to output it starting right here in the model sheet. Okay, so then all we need to do is run it, and we end up with our covariance table. Now, to get the array functions to work properly, we actually need to fill in the whole table. So the covariance correctly says that, well, this particular covariance is the same as this one. All right, so therefore we don't need to show it. All right, to make the array functions work, we do need to show it. And actually to sort of get that 2 times the covariance, we need the full table filled in. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is fill in this table, and I'm going to start with demonstrating one of these array functions, and it's the transpose function. Okay, so the first thing I do is select where I want the data that's going to be transposed to be inserted. And so I'm going to go along the 5th row, and then I'm going to transpose what's in the I column. To execute a array function, you have to hold Control and Shift and press Enter. Okay, and then we're just going to do the same thing for each column. We're going to transpose it across a row. Okay, so with our table filled in, we can see that the portfolio standard deviation has been calculated over here, and I will just talk about the function I wrote to do that. All right, so once again, we're going to be dealing with variances and covariances, and we're going to have to reduce those to a square root. So this whole matrix function is wrapped in a square root function. All right, and then we start inside these nested functions. So the first thing we're going to do is transpose the weights. We're going to matrix multiply that by the covariance variance table. And then we're going to take the result of that and matrix multiply it again by the weights. And then we're going to adjust it from a daily to an annualized variance of the portfolio. Okay, and we're going to reduce all that down to one cell. So to execute once again, I'm going to have to hold Control and Shift and press Enter. Okay, and so I just put in some seed values. Obviously, we are not fully invested here. We're only 35% invested. So let's just take a look at how I did that, right? I summed up the weights, and these are going to become constraints in the solver dialog box when I set up this model to solve for the optimal portfolio weights. All right, we calculated the Sharpe ratio here. All right, and since we don't really know what these returns are going to be in actuality, all right, we're going to, if this is our chosen portfolio, we're going to make sure that we at least invest a little bit. All right, so we're going to set a bottom threshold of no less than 5% in each security. And then we don't want to concentrate too much, so we're going to set a maximum of 20% in each security. So once our model is all set up, we're ready to solve for the optimal weights. And to do that, I'm going to fire up Solver. and start populating this dialog box. So our objective here is to maximize the Sharpe ratio. So I'm going to select the cell with that in it, and we're going to maximize that by changing the weights. Okay, and it's going to be subject to several constraints. We're going to make sure that we're 100% invested. We're going to make sure that we invest at least 5% in each security. And then we're going to make sure that we invest no more than 20% in each security. Okay, and then we automatically have the non-negativity constraints here, so that would be one more constraint. And with that done, we're ready to solve for our optimal portfolio. Okay, so there are our optimal security mixes here. And interestingly, the highest expected return also has that high Sharpe ratio profile. So it is asking us to invest maximally in that security. All right. And we can see overall that the expected return is 20% with an expected volatility of almost 32%. All right. And our Sharpe ratio is quite a bit higher than it was when I started off. All right. And if you want to play around with this a little bit, you can just go back and see what happens if you essentially try to invest equally in each security. All right, so a little bit over there, we'll reduce gold a bit. And you can see that, oh, the return is lower and the volatility is higher. Okay, so imagine that efficient frontier curve here, we would be off that optimal capital allocation line. Okay, so hopefully that helps you get started with portfolio optimization.